Here space is precious. The nuclear reactors and propulsion takes up a third of the vessel, to which it adds up the flood tanks, a lot of cables, pipes, valves, missiles, torpedoes, and other equipments. So
Grabe, no? So, kita nyo naman, hindi lang to basta-basta ordinaryong submarine, kasi meron siyang mga dalang nuclear, mga missiles, or yun, pandigma nga talaga siya. So, again, from US to, so expect natin na matikas din talaga to or nakakatakot, men. So, kumusta mga kanoisy? Welcome back sa ating YouTube channel, FilipiNoisy. So, ngayong araw, since curious ako or meron ako nakitang magandang video dito, ito nga ay about sa isang napakamahal na nuclear submarine from US or Estados Unidos. So, mula ito kay military all the way. So, panonoorin natin ito guys kasi biruin mo ba namang $4 million o 200 billion pesos, 4 billion dollars pala. So, or 200 billion pesos. Ang mahal nun, men. So, again, military all the way, So, yun, ang title ng video ito ay Life Inside US 4 Billion Nuclear Submarine Inside Kitchen and Sleeping Room. So, ito na yung araw, guys, na makikita natin kung ano nga ba ang nasa loob ng isang submarine. At bonus pa, kasi ito yung pinaka, or mahal siya, men. Luxury submarine siya. Luxury ba? Something like that. Basta mahal siya. $4 billion eh. So, yun. Bago natin simulan, military all the way. Supportahan nyo yan. Tapos, syempre, kung trip nyo naman ng ganitong reaction video, may kasama kayo manood, huwag nyo na rin kalimutan i-subscribe yung YouTube channel natin at click ang notification bell para lagi kang updated kung meron tayong mga reaction video gaya nito. Mag-iwan ka na rin ng link. Mag-iwan ka na rin ng like sa video ito. So, di na natin patatagalin pa. Baka agawin pa ng China. Again, ang title ng video ito, Life Inside US 4 Billion Nuclear Submarine Inside Kitchen and Sleeping Rooms. So, start.
On board a submarine is unlike anything else on this planet. It's a cramped undersea world where sailors work and live in
Sa
for
US
months. A very tight place for 155 people to live and work while underwater.
Grabe.
And it's quite impressive how the crew members manage to stay away from each other. How they are ducking, bending, or dodging to avoid running into each other while walking on the very crammed hallways. Submarines are an all-volunteer service, a fact that brings a certain amount of pride. Submariners say it is a certain kind of person who chooses a life under the sea, working in an environment incompatible with human life.
Grabe, so lumalabas-labas din pala sila.
Here space is precious. The nuclear reactors and propulsion takes up a third of the vessel, to which it adds up the flood tanks, a lot of cables, pipes, valves, missiles, torpedoes, and other equipments. So,
Grabe, So, kita nyo naman, hindi lang to basta-basta ordinaryong submarine, kasi meron siyang mga dalang nuclear, mga missiles, or yun, pandigma nga talaga siya. So, again, from US to, so expect natin na matikas din talaga to or nakakatakot, men. So, tuloy.
Sailors are left with a very tight work and living space.
Grabe.
The crew operates on a 24-hour day, split up into sections of 8 hours each. So they are on watch for 8 hours and have 16 hours between watches. Those that are not on watch will be doing maintenance, training, or other extracurricular work, leaving them with some, or even no free time. Sailors have very little private room, and most of it comes down to their bunk beds and pulling the curtain.
Grabe naman, liit.
On the US's largest submarine, the Ohio class, on the third level off to each side, there's 16 bunk rooms in total. Each room has 9 individual racks, also referred to as coffins. And there's a little bit of storage space underneath it.
Grabe naman, kunti lang or ang liit lang ng higaan nila, Parang ano lang talaga siya, parang ataol nga lang eh. Tapos, yung lalagyan nila ng mga damit, nasa ilalim lang din ng higaan nila. So, parang ano talaga siya, kino-compress yung mga bagay-bagay, kasi, yun nga, maliit lang din yung submarine. Although malaki siya, mas needed kasi yung, mas malaki yung part ng mga dinadala or ng use nila like mga missiles, di ba? Kaya sila, parang, nagko-compress lang sila. Tapos may girl dito. Tuloy.
But if you think this living quarter is small, well, remember this is the US's largest sub, and not all submarines have this kind of space.
Yun. Tama.
Moreover, many times there are more crew members than bunks, and this means sailors have to share the bed. Those that are not in their designated sleep period will leave.
Wait lang, more than crews daw than bunks. So, ibig sabihin, mas marami pa yung tao kesa sa higaan nila. Kaya yung iba, nag-share na lang din or tumatabi-tabi ba. Grabe, tuloy.
Their living space open for other crew members to get rest. This is called hot bunking, because when you got in your bunk it was still warm from the last guy. Plus, there are beds also in the torpedo room, that often doubles as a sleeping and exercise room.
Grabe, no?
Let's take a closer look at what the bedrooms look like.
Grabe, no?
This is what the crew uses as their laundry bags. So whenever they change clothes, that's where they'll be putting the laundry. Each rack has a foot locker on it, and also each individual rack is assigned its own drawer where they can keep their stuff private. And there's a common locker, so each bunk room will have a common locker. This is usually where people hang up their jackets and things like that. Here's where sailors can fit their clothes, extra flame-resistant coveralls, working uniform, and place them in there, usually for the duration of the underway.
Grabe. Ano lang talaga, no? Diskartihan lang talaga ba?
There are no more than 3 toilets and 2 showers for enlisted to use, and they're pretty much open all day. Also, there's 1 shower for Chief Petty Officer, 1 for the officers, and 1 shower for the Executive Officer and Commander Officer. They only have 3 to 5 minutes of shower time. But if they have
Grabe, 3 to 5 minutes lang, men. Kaya nyo bang maligo ng ganun? Grabe yun. Ako kaya kung ganun, pero di natin matatanggal yung libag dun, men.
excess water supply, the executive officer may authorize Hollywood showers, meaning they can use continually running water. A sailor could shower however frequently they choose. In fact, the chief of the boat will usually demand sailors to take a shower if they smell like sweat. Officers share with 2 other officers a small room that has 2 drop-down desks and a drop-down sink. But unfortunately, they are censored due to the classified nature of the work that they do.
Angas, oh.
There is a laundry room on the sub with 2 washing machines and 2 dryers where the crew members do their laundry. They assign different days and sign up times for each individual to be able to coordinate when they're
Paano kaya ilalabas nila yung mga tubig nila, di ba? Or mga dumi nila?
off watch and be able to do their laundry. The lack of natural light makes keeping track of time very difficult, and sailors know the time by what type of food they're eating. If there are pancakes, then they know it's morning. But if they eat leftovers, then it's midnight. The food on the submarine is famously great. It kind of compensates the harsh conditions sailors have to face, so they eat pretty well.
May kitchen din sila, oh. Ewan ko, ang term kasi dito sa barko, sa kitchen nila is galley. Ewan ko sa submarine, parang same lang din naman ata, no? Galley. Tuloy.
In fact, the best food you'll ever find in the military is on a submarine. A good meal is a major source of keeping a high morale, since they work long hours and have limited to no communication with their family. Low morale.
Parang restaurant lang. Ulit nga natin yung about sa communication of family.
So they eat pretty well. In fact, the best food you'll ever find in the military is on a submarine. A good meal is a major source of keeping a high morale, since they work long hours and have limited to no communication with their family. Low morale can lead to mental distraction and can lead to mistakes, which are not tolerated in this field of work. So submariners get the best food as well as the best cooks.
Grabe, men. Sa barko daw nila or sa submarine daw nila, ang inaano nila, men, parang inaano nila yung utak nila ba na dapat masarap yung pagkain natin dito or special talaga yung pagkain natin para parang ma-diverse din daw yung mga isip nila na yun nga, malayo sila sa pamilya nila. Parang maiwasan nilang pagkalungkot ba. Kaya yun, binabawi nila sa pagkain. So correct me if I'm wrong na lang kung tama or mali ba yung pagkakaintindi ko. Ano? So tuloy.
They don't just peel and boil potatoes, they're trained at culinary school.
Grabe.
There are 4 meals a day because of watch rotation, and the crew has ice cream available 24/7 to boost morale. And there is the same menu for the officers as it is for the enlisted men. This space is called the crew's mess, where the crew eats their buffet-style type meals. They eat 3 or 4 meals a day depending on their schedule, and again, they eat
Grabe, daming pagkain. Puro pa masasarap. Parang mga buffet dito eh.
pretty good. US's ballistic nuclear submarines can carry enough food to stay submerged for about 90 to 120 days without any issues. So they have to get 90
to 120 days, so mga 3 months.
to 120 days worth of food stored on board. To put it into perspective, one submarine will typically carry about 20,000 pounds of food and will have about 1,500 pounds of ribeye rolled beef, 1,500 pounds of ground beef, 1,200 pounds of chicken breast, 400 pounds of bacon, 9,800 pounds of flour, 2,500 pounds of sugar, and more than
Grabe, no. Take note nyo yan, kasi ano yan, men, nakatawag dyan, komputado na yan. Or kalkulado. Kalkulado.
1,000 pounds of coffee, which, and this is the most important, always brews in the coffee machine. But since space is limited, the cooks and sailors have to get pretty creative in finding ways to store it and distribute its weight as evenly as possible inside the submarine. Everyone's bunk starts out with a bunch of cans underneath the mattress, and they even store canned foods in the showers. Also, the eggs and perishables are stored in the escape trunks, since the ocean is pretty cold because of the submerged depths they normally operate. Fresh food is the first that runs out, so then canned or frozen foods are in line to get served. And
yung fresh food, kasi nga yun yung unang na papanis or nasisira, yun daw yung una nilang inuubos, tsaka ihuhuli na nila yung mga canned goods. Well, bright move.
Here's where the cooks also have to get creative, but with their cooking. 6 to 8 people cook on a submarine, and they have to be ready to serve a meal at any given time.
Grabe.
The biggest challenge to cooking on a submarine while underway isn't necessarily the limited space, but anticipating the submarine's movement. When the boat makes an unexpected move, then all of a sudden, all the hard work could be on the deck. The mess
Yun
hall
din kapag bigla silang tumagilid parang masasayang lang daw yung mga effort nila.
also doubles as space for sailors to spend their free time watching movies, playing video games or cards and board games.
Buti may internet sila.
And most submarines also have a small gym that allows sailors to work out. Onboard fitness equipment generally includes an exercise bike, rowing machine, weights along with boxing gloves, pads, and punching bags. There's another hard aspect of submarine life, aside from the very tight space and lack of natural light: communicating with the outside world. This is a very difficult process and strictly regulated.
Okay, so ang isa daw sa pinaka-struggle din daw talaga nila guys ay yung communication nila sa itaas kasi nga syempre kung nasa ilalim ka sobrang hirap mong mag-pick up ng signal doon kahit siguro na meron kang pinaka-advanced or pinaka-deep na signal or nag-adapt ng signal, parang sometimes mahihirapan din daw talaga sila So tuloy.
Submarines are sometimes equipped with onboard devices that can connect to the internet with higher data rates, including via satellite. But there is no such thing as a direct message platform in the submarine community. In addition to letters, sailors rely only on emails. And the thing is that every single email is read, examined for policy violations and operational security. So whether or not a sailor gets the email is up to those who are responsible with inspecting. The only time they get a chance to send emails home is when the submarine surfaces. But even then, receiving or sending an email isn't always guaranteed. When they're at the surface, the crew's access to the internet can be severely restricted. It is normal for sailors to go as long as a month, or even 2, without sending or receiving.
Grabe Ganyan yung trabaho ng mga natin mga halimbawa ganyan, mga sailors or mga bang tawag sa mga nasa submarine guys? Hindi naman siguro sila Navy, di ba? Submariner ba? Or Marines? Basta ganun. Di din basta-basta guys kasi sobrang halimbawa ganyan mga family nila, naiiwanan nila. Same lang din yan sa mga kasundaluhan natin na naipapadala sa mga war zones na ibinubuwis talaga nila yung buhay para sa atin at para sa bansa natin, di ba? So, malaking thank you sa inyo mga sundalo, mga police, mga doctors, lahat ng mga frontliners at yung tawag doon. So, try.
Receiving emails from home. Though they do have missions where they can receive or send emails every week. This happens because when they send or receive emails, they are giving off a signal, thus exposing the submarine to detection by anti-submarine forces. So sailors are not allowed personal use of Wi-Fi or Bluetooth within a submarine. If personal computers or phones are allowed on board, the crew members can only use them when they are ashore. The whole point of a submarine is to pass unseen in order to be able to do its mission. Communicating with the outside world exposes them to high risks, as it could leave them vulnerable to detection.
Dapat din daw kasi talaga silang maging maingat kapag meron silang communication sa taas. Kasi nga daw na-detect sila ng mga kalaban nila kapag padalos-dalos sila, di ba? So kaya pala parang medyo strict sila sa mga emails or sa mga communications ng mga family nila, or yun nga sobrang delikado din kasi kapag meron silang kasama doon ba na, di ba, may girlfriend na naiwan tapos sobrang miss niya na pwede silang ma-compromise So yun din yung isa sa pinaka-iniiwasan nila. Kasi kapag ma-detect sila ng kalaban guys, automatic na yun. Di na sila aahon yan.
There is one thing though that submariners are allowed to do when others in the Navy are not: growing a beard. The grooming rules are more relaxed for sailors on a submarine than any others in the Navy. They are not required to shave every day. They can even grow a beard to a certain point, and their hair length and style are not so regimented. When it comes to providing medical care for any sick or injured crew member, there is no doctor on board a submarine. An independent duty corpsman or IDC is the sole medical provider on board a submarine that works to ensure the safety and health of submariners. They have extensive emergency medical training above that of a paramedic, capable of performing an appendectomy. These guys are worth their weight in gold.
So parang wala silang doktor sa submarine nila, kaya sila na lang mismo nag-undergo sila ng mga training para naman ma-save nila yung isa't isa.
Level of experience and training they need to be qualified at to serve as a submarine IDC is staggering. They are in charge of the entire crew's medical and dental health. On top of this is the radiation health program, so they are also considered as the radiation health officer on board the sub, and have to document the radiation exposure. Beyond the medical care they provide, the IDCs also have other tasks to perform while on deployment. They prepare for industrial hygiene surveys and monitor the ship's atmosphere, are in charge of the medical supplies, and they inspect the food and water quality on board. This is where the officers dine and is called the wardroom. They have all their meals here, and it's all assigned seating. So you have like the captain, XO, and then everyone else can just fill in where need be. An additional purpose of the wardroom is that this table doubles as surgery table while they are underwater. In case the idea
Yung pagkain or kung saan yung lamesa nakakain sila, yun din daw yung parang nagiging surgical table kapag meron silang maano na emergency. Okay.
has to perform an emergency surgery while underway, it would take place in the wardroom. Here is the control room, or the brain of the submarine as it is also called, where all the magic happens.
Yun.
From here is where the sailors drive and operate the submarine, change buoyancy and direction of where they're going and keep the ship safe. With the assistance of sonar and their tracking contact, they make sure not to run into potential contacts while navigating around in the waters. And here is also the submarine's fire control. Everything will be managed from the control room. It really is the brains of the operation. All the decisions for the submarine are based at control. Moving next to the torpedo room, here is the weapons launch console. They use the weapons launch console to help communicate weapons launching operations with the sub's fire control.
Grabe, no? So, dito na nila nilalagay yung ano nila, mga missile, yun nga, torpedo room and missile control center. Nako po. Tuloy.
Also a missile control center where they monitor the safety and security of the weapon system, plus they maintain targeting and the launcher ready. At the launcher console is where they can control opening hatches, shutting hatches, monitoring tube temperatures and pressures. And on the fire control side is where sailors maintain the guidance system and the missiles themselves. So you can think of launcher console as the bronze of the weapon system and fire control as the brains of the operation.
Yun.
Nuclear ballistic missile submarines are specifically designed for stealth and for the precise delivery of nuclear warheads. They perform deep-sea operations and serve as nuclear deterrent, forming one of the three arms of the nuclear triad. So,
ang nakakatakot lang nito guys kapag nagkaroon ng aberya, no? Goodbye silang lahat.
It's fair to say that sailors who volunteered for this type of work have another distinction that sets them apart from anyone else in the military. Plus, there is a say that they are the only fighting force in which virtually every sailor gains weight during a deployment. About 10 pounds on average. This kind of proves how good the food is on a submarine.
Tumataba daw sila. Tama ba yung pagkakaintindi ko? So, yun lang naman guys. Kita nyo naman ano. So, yun yung life inside US $4 billion nuclear submarine. Inside kitchen and sleeping rooms. Kita nyo naman yun guys. So, kung i-convert natin yan into Philippine money, yung $4 billion ay nasa 200 billion pesos yan. So, ganun ka-expensive yung submarine na yan. Tapos, kita nyo naman, sabi dito na yun nga, yung mga pagkain nila sobrang sarap, sobrang special guys. Tapos, syempre, pang-ano nga daw, pang divert sa mga ano nila kapag malo-lonely sila, mamimiss nila yung mga mahal nila sa buhay, parang nadadivert, nalilipat nila yon sa pagkain. So, grabe yung psychological doon. So, kita nyo rin naman, ang isa din sa dito, yung maangas dito ay yung talaga, yung mga dala nila, yung mga missiles nila, yung mga nuclear bombs nila, or anong tawag dyan? Nuclear warheads ba? Or basta anything related to nuclear kasi for sure sa inyo, hindi na bago sa inyo na yun nga, itong mga submarine ay nagki-carry din sila ng mga nuclear, di ba? So, sila yun. Ito, may dala sila. So, again, this is from US, Grabe, tibay nito, men. Tapos, ang isa lang sa nakakalungkot dito, yun nga, yung communication, parang sila, sobrang stricto sila. Kasi nga daw, baka ma-detect sila ng mga kalaban. Ano kaya mangyayari kapag yung dalawang submarine sa magkalabang bansa, magkatagpo sila dun sa ilalim? Magpuputukan kaya sila? Whatsoever. Tapos, ito kasing submarine, parang nagiging spy na din siya sa ibang mga bansa din na parang umaaligid-aligid din sila sa mga paligid-ligid ng mga kalaban nila. Hindi nga natin alam, baka dyan sa West Philippine Sea, meron ng mga US submarine dyan. Kayo sa tingin nyo, meron na ba dyan? Hindi lang pinapaalam sa atin at sa China. Malay natin, di ba? So, yun lang naman. Again, sobrang nakakaaliw panoorin tong video ito, tapos nakaka-amaze, di ba? Grabe, 200 billion pesos, men. So, yun lang. Kayo, ano masasabi nyo sa video ito? Comment down below. Pag-usapan natin yan sa comment section. So, again, ang video ito ay mula kay Military All The Way. Subscribe nyo yan. Original video link nasa description box below. Tapos, syempre, again, Tapos, syempre, again, bago nyo iwan yung channel natin, huwag nyo na rin kalimutang i-subscribe, i-click ang notification bell, at mag-iwan ng like sa video ito. So, yun lang naman muna. Again, FilipiNoisy is out. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching.